transparency for the Human Services Block Grant. Can you tell me the thought process involved with not including family members, providers, and most importantly consumers in that task force that you established to study the grant?
Can I tell you? No. Only because I don't have the details here in front of me as to how that went through. Okay?
Yes.
I owe her a second question.
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate it. While the county commissioner's efforts are laudable to make the decisions more flexible for consumers, it appears to me that with all of these people trying to narrow down their own turf issues, it might be more difficult to reach a consensus to be able to bring about the efficiencies the block grant is intended to deliver. I'm wondering what your reaction.
Let me understand this. I'm going to take the opposite. So the 203 members of the House and the 50 members of the Senate know how to do it better for the local communities than the county commissioners. That's what you're saying.
What I'm asking, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm asking is...
I'm misunderstanding.
Okay, what I'm asking is, what type of time length do you think this allocation process is going to take for all of these county commissioners to reach consensus on the 7 silo issues and the categoricals?
When you say all these county commissioners, there's 3 county commissioners in a county.
Correct.
Or a county council.
Correct.
I think, they go through a budgetary process every year. It will be going through their budgetary process. And they will have a certain amount of time based upon the legislation, a certain amount of time to do this. They'll have open hearings. You heard them testify to that. People will come before them. But the other aspect of this is they have to vote on this in public. It gets aired. The people get to have input in it. Much more so than they do here in Harrisburg, other than the demonstrations that we see or the rallies that we see on a regular basis. And then finally, it has to pass muster with the Department of Welfare. So for instance, let's say they wiped out drug and alcohol. Well, that's not going to fly. Let's say they wiped out mental health. That's not going to fly. I'm confident, at least under this administration, and I would hope under any administration, that the Department of Welfare would look to see, are you addressing the needs of your county? And if all of a sudden there's a dramatic reduction in something, they're going to say, why? Explain it to us. Did you get too much money in the past? I don't think so. I don't think anybody can say they got too much money. But explain it to us. So, we're looking for the oversight, but the decision makers are the ones that are on the ground that are there every day. You heard the one county commissioner talking about categoricals, that they had plenty of money left and they didn't need it. Others that it was empty. Shouldn't they be able to take that money over and put it over there? That's really what this is, and that's frankly what I dealt with in the federal government years ago.
I understand that, but then how would you explain that the local county providers are not in favor of the block grant proposal?
Because I don't think they understand it. I think that they're worried. I think they're hearing a lot from Harrisburg, the providers in Harrisburg, saying, oh my goodness, we're losing control here in Harrisburg. I don't think they understand that they're going to have a seat at the table more now in their counties than they presently do here.
Barry had one.
Who had Karen?
Barry.
Karen?
Barry. You have a question?
Oh, it flew out of my head. You said you were.
What are you listening to?
Well, you, but
Good answer. I don't believe you, but good answer.
You said you were meeting with the legislature. I just wanted to clarify. You're meeting with legislative Republicans.
Yes.
You're talking about the budget. Okay.
Okay.
Governor, do you consider block granting to be as important in the student achievement education block grants as in these county welfare programs? And is that something in the education part that you plan to continue pushing for?
I think block grants in both categories help the people on the ground address the needs that they have in the limited amount of money that they have.
Do you think we're going to see that?
I don't know. I don't know. Up in the back.
Would you hold up the budget for the EITC Part 2 or EISC, whatever you want to call it? How
You
important
know,
is
I
that
think
to
I've
you?
learned a lesson from last year. I'm not telling them what I would hold the budget up for.
Can you assess how important that is to you? They did not vote it out of committee this morning.
Well, I just have to wait and see what they have to. They have a lot. They have, they have time yet. We'll have to see.
Anything you can say about talks or any evolving legislation for the tax credit on the cracker?
Well, you heard Sam Smith on, with me on Wednesday saying we can say we've got a deal on it. I believe we have a deal. I think the event that we had here last week has had an impact. I think the discussions as people learn about it have an impact. When I read the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette does an editorial in support of it, yeah, I feel pretty good about it.
In terms of the concept of should there be a cap on it, should there be no cap in the legislation?
I'm not going to get into the details of what's being discussed right now.
You had said at the time that you thought that the legislature would change the $66 million that you're.
I said there was a possibility. Tony.
Okay, Governor, you said you won't tell us what you'd hold the budget up for, but are there things that you would hold the budget up for?
There might be.
What do you hold the budget?
You like that one?
Nice try.
Governor, again, I know you spoke with the CBS Early Show this morning. Can you explain to us why it took 2 years and what you meant by ironclad case against?
I think if you watch that trial, I don't know, were you up there, Dave?
I was.
Okay, you were? Okay. I think that demonstrated that that case had been thoroughly investigated. A thorough investigation takes time. It takes time to find witnesses. One witness would have been a very difficult time. And I said it from the beginning. Let's back up. What's my background? As assistant DA, I did a lot of these types of cases working with these kids. As Attorney General, I've done child predator cases. I have close to 300 convictions going after child predators on the internet. These are very, very important cases to me. I've done more about people being predators of kids than anybody that I've met. I mean, I don't usually pat myself on the back, but it's a fact. If we're going to do this case, when that came in front, we had to have the best possible case to go against somebody like Mr. Sandusky, who was, go back to what everybody thought he was. Great coach. Players loved him. Created the second mile. It took a long period of time to find people to come out, to piece this together. This is not television. It doesn't come together in 24 hours, okay? Sometimes there were spurts of activities. Other times, it took like agents, I think one of the agents was looking, when they learned about his book, they started looking through his book and got evidence out of the book. They put together, it was in the process as I was leaving. And I was in contact with them on a regular basis. How's it coming? How's it coming? Keep moving, pushing. But I was never going to tell them, you got to charge it now or don't charge it. You tell me when you're ready. We made the change. I left. I appointed an Attorney General. Of the many reasons that I appointed Linda Kelly Attorney General, one was that she was in the same unit I was in 1977, 78, and 79, trying these types of cases. And she was going to be another set of eyes to look at that case, make sure that we had the case that we could win, because we're going to get one shot. If we lose that case, you're never going to get a shot. First off, if you go with one case and you lose it, there could have been other victims out there who wouldn't come forward. When they got those victims, you have to say, that was an ironclad case. I kept hearing it go in. I learned as much from the paper, learned more than some of which I didn't know. They just laid out a case that the jury deliberated properly, and they basically said, they used the words ironclad, and I got the ironclad from Ed Rendell. That was his quote.
I guess people have a hard time understanding, and maybe you can use your background and expertise. Why is one child rape victim or alleged victim not enough?
It could be enough. And if it were a non-celebrity, yeah, maybe. But the best thing you can do when you're talking about a child saying an adult is doing something that is this horrific to me, and he's a coach, you want to corroborate it. If it's one-on-one, and now put the celebrity status in, put the, Jerry Sandusky is loved by everybody, carried out of the football stadium on the shoulders of his football team. How can anybody say there must be something wrong? You better corroborate it. And that's what they started doing. They started pulling strings and gathered and gathered and gathered. And that's my experience. You build those cases as well as you can.
Did it weigh on your mind that there might have been more victims out there as the
Absolutely. You mean that he could be victimizing? Yeah, I was worried about it. But at the same time, I have to be careful here because there's certain things I'm still barred from going into, I think. I believe he had to know we were looking at him at some point in time. And so if you know that they're looking at you, you kind of back away. But it was a calculated risk, not one that you really easily want to take.
When was the first time that you heard of any accusations against Jerry Sandusky?
When we got the referral. When we got the referral from the district attorney, March, April, I don't have a time log here, of '09.
Did he tell you what the conflict was? His brother-in-law was adopted by Jerry Sandusky?
I didn't talk to him, but I learned that was the conflict.
Is it Matt?
That's a pretty good conflict.
Is it Matt Sandusky?
I don't know. I don't know who it is. I don't know who it is, but it's a very good conflict. Not good, but a valid one.
What do you have to say about the statement that Penn State released on Friday about basically telling the victims, come talk to us, we're going to sit down and talk about the damage?
I don't think I really go into that as a member of the Board of Trustees. I think that those are legal decisions that are being made by the administration. And I think I haven't had any conversations with them, particularly since the verdict. So, Jen, I'm not comfortable talking about that right now. Maybe somewhere down the road, but not today.
There's legislation that, I don't know if it's been introduced yet, but it's going to be introduced about making sure that money for higher ed at Penn State doesn't go towards anything that has to do with Sandusky. Do you think that legislation is necessary? Or are there any conversations that you've already had with the Penn State to make sure that
I'll make a general observation. There's a lot of proposed legislation that never makes it all the way through, so you tell me whether it's necessary. No offense to the legislature, but in my opinion, Jerry Sandusky's never going to see the outside of a prison for the rest of his life. So we'll see what happens, see what kind of legislation is introduced. I don't know.
Maybe I didn't say it right. I mean that money that Penn State would get that wouldn't have to go to any,
for any payments to victims and so forth.
It would make sure that the money from the state would go to that.
I would have to see it, but I think I think there's a legitimate concern that taxpayer dollars should not be going to fund that settlement of a case like that. That's what you're talking about. Okay.
Have you had any conversations at all with Penn State or if any leaders that you know have talked to?
Not on that. I've been keeping, because of the investment in the trial, I have not talked to them very much about the Sandusky case. In fact, very, very little. Okay. Last one. Thank you all.